Of all the group chat mishaps to make their way into the news, this one's rather unusual. One lucky journalist, The Atlantic magazine's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, got accidentally added to a Signal chat with top American officials, in which the Defense Secretary posted about plans to airstrike Yemen, which then happened on March the 15th. The group included the Vice President, Secretary of State, the CIA Director, several other senior officials as well. Let's get the latest now from Fraser Jackson, our Washington correspondent. Fraser, what on earth?
Well, it's the scoop of a century, really. The journalists from the magazine The Atlantic added to a group chat on Signal where top US officials were discussing an upcoming strike on Houthis in Yemen, which then took place on the 15th of March. Of course, the Houthis have been interfering with shipping in the crucial Suez Canal for months at that point. Well, there were 18 people in that chat, including Vice President J.D. Vance, the Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and others believed to be the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, as well as the White House Deputy Director of Communications Stephen Miller and the Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, along with the CIA Director John Ratcliffe. So really the top brass of the US military and national security scene as well. Now, the text messages that were then put out by The Atlantic showed a back and forth, with Vance initially being skeptical of the strikes. He said, "I think we're making a mistake." He goes on to say 3% of US trade runs through the Suez Canal, 40% of European trade does. He said this is a real risk that the public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. The strongest reason to do this, as POTUS said, is to send a message. So there appeared to be some daylight, however, between Vance and the president, where he said, "I'm not sure the president is aware of how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now." He went on to list some other concerns, including the spike in oil prices if the strike indeed went ahead, which it did. Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, replied to Vance, saying, "I understand your concerns," and he argued that the messaging is going to be rough no matter what. Nobody knows who the Houthis are, which is why we would need to stay focused on one, Biden failed, and two, Iran funded. Vance seemingly then backed down, saying, "If you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again." Hegseth replies, "I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic." So some choice words there about the European allies as well, and so perhaps some questions to be put to the president about his thoughts on the European allies, given that his J.D. Vance, the vice president, clearly feels so strongly about it. Well, Vance's team has since downplayed the appearance of daylight between him and the president in these messages. And the reporter who put this out, Jeffrey Goldberg, said that he believes that he was added to this mistakenly because his name on Signal was his initials, JG, which are the same initials as Jameson Greer, the top US trade representative who often attends National Security Council meetings. And if that's true, that is certainly a stunning oversight by whoever set up this Signal group. And it's certainly a stunning story and leak of national security as well.
Yeah, I mean, so much to get into here. It's maybe the comments about Europe, not that surprising, given Trump's comments on Europe directly in the past. And Goldberg, I mean, he showed some serious restraint because he avoided publishing anything on this until now. I mean, God knows what he could have done. Maybe he could have changed his own name to DT and then started ordering people around. But anyway, there's been some pretty serious reaction to this story. People are saying, even the Democrats are even calling it criminal.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing really was that the White House actually verified this. Brian Hughes, the spokesperson of the National Security Council, said at this time the message thread that was reported appears to be authentic, and we are reviewing how an inadvertent number was added to the chain. He then tried to spin the story, saying that the thread is a demonstration of the deep and thoughtful policy coordination between senior officials. The ongoing success of the Houthi operation demonstrates that there are no threats to our service members or our national security, but some members of Congress have been up in arms about that and disagree with that. Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat in the Senate, said this is one of the most stunning breaches of military intelligence I've read about in a very, very long time. He called for an investigation to be opened. His calls for an investigation have been joined by members of the Armed Services Committee as well, who've called for heads to roll and the investigation to open. And there were even calls coming from Republicans like Don Bacon, who said that we've all sent the wrong person than a text, but the unconscionable action was sending this info over non-secure networks. Perhaps the most interesting reaction, though, coming from Donald Trump himself, who, when he was asked about this at a press event by one of my colleagues, said, "I don't know anything about it," and then said, "I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business." But he said that the reporter was telling him about that story for the first time. So we're going to be getting more on this from the president over the course of the next 24 hours or so. But the White House says that the president still has full confidence in his national security team.
Great stuff, Fraser. Get yourself into one of those group chats for us. Thanks for that from Washington. Now, do you know how to